Hey, hello and welcome to episode 5 of Room 2740. For those of you who are new to this channel, Room 2740 is a vlog that I do to give a background behind the work that I do here at Q Squared, but also the advisory and consulting and development work I do for the other business interests that I have. Why 2740? Well, myself and my wife, we were talking to a couple of clients and they were asking us how and what do we need to do if we wanted to make £1 million in a year. And the conversation that came from her to me was that if you make £2,740 a day, you can make £1 million in a year. In the same way, if you wanted to reach 1 million people in a year, the target that you would have is 2,740. Is this all just about making $1 million? No, it's primarily about abundance. That's what we mean about Room 2740. It's the mindset of abundance. So let's go into this week's episode. I'd like to talk to you about 6 speaking models that I have in the work that I do, whether it's primarily for me under my brand, David McQueen as a speaker, or whether I'm representing other clients. So let's go with number 1. The most lucrative and the biggest part so far of how I've made speaking over the years has been through Keynotes. So that can be anything up to an hour worth of content on a specialist subject, whether it's around leadership, around business, around presentation skills, or what the client specifically has demanded from me from that point in time. I will go in and I will deliver that presentation, be it in face-to-face, or if it involves international travel, sometimes I may just do it online if I can't get to the client, like especially these times here in 2020. But effectively it's me just speaking directly to a client and being able to share some insight into my areas of expertise. Now, one of the things that's really funny here is that a lot of individuals get really thrown because they will get a bill from me. You know, it can be from anywhere from £5,000 upwards for me to be able to come and speak. And they're like, hold on a minute, you're only going to do 20 minutes or an hour. Why are you charging us £5,000? And what I get people to understand is that when you hire me in to speak, you're not hiring me in to speak for the couple of minutes that I'm there. Effectively, you're hiring me in for the years of experience that I have. Not only are you hiring me for the experience, but in order to be able to engage me, we would have had a process in our back office. We're going to be liaising with your team. We're finding out exactly what it is that you want to get as a result of that speech. So we may ask you top 3 issues that or outcomes that you want as a result of this presentation. And also the things that you want to avoid, because sometimes I want to make sure that I'm using the right language, I'm using the right context, and avoiding subjects that may be really sensitive. That stuff takes time, and then it may take about 2, maybe 3 days to really craft and put together all the different nuances that you as a client may specifically want as a result of that keynote. So the keynote speaking is very important, and it's an investment that people will make, and sometimes people will just turn up and rock up because they think that they can just do the same thing over and over again. But for me, when I'm serving a client, should I say, it's about adding value, and that value is making sure that when I impart that wisdom and when I impart that knowledge, it actually adds value to your bottom line, whether that's around profit, whether it's around engagement, or whether it's around productivity. The second one I want to talk about is around seminars. Now, seminars are similar to keynotes, but they're slightly a bit more interactive, so you can be presenting. If you think of some of the big kind of like gurus like Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and others who will stand on a stage and they will talk to individuals and they will take them on a journey about empowering themselves or developing a specific skill. That's more like a seminar, so it's a bit more interactive. There may be a bit more of a demonstration where people are tested on some of the, I might do a little bit of live coaching here and there. But a seminar is an extension of the keynote where we go a bit deeper. Sometimes that can be anywhere from, rather than 60 minutes would be longer, it can be 2 minutes, 2 hours. Sometimes when we are doing it live, it can be anywhere from half a day to a whole day. But seminars are usually charged to individuals where they will pay a premium to be in that space for a specific topic, similar to what I talk about in my keynotes. The third one where we can make money is around webinars. Now, webinars are very similar to seminars, but the difference is obviously is that they are online. So whether we're using Zoom or WebEx or whatever kind of live streaming software we're using, it's an opportunity like a seminar where we are able to have a presentation, but it will be interactive as well, whether it's in breakout groups or whether questions are asked. And again, people pay on an individual basis to be part and parcel of this environment. And again, it can be anything longer. It can be up to 2 hours. Sometimes it can be slightly longer depending on the actual need of the clients and depending on where we're actually going to do. I try to not make it too long because I know when you're presenting online for too long, you want to make sure that people are engaged in the process. Number 4 for me is workshops. And workshops are a lot more interactive than your keynote or your seminar or your webinar. This is an intentional way of being able to take people on a journey. It's a lot more interactive. So whilst you are bringing concepts to an organization, the majority of my workshops tend to be around leadership and to a lesser extent around presentation skills, although I'm moving away from presentation skills now, apart from when I just do one-to-one coaching. But it's an opportunity for people to learn some parts around how do they communicate as leaders, how do they deal with conflict, how do they deal with culture, all these kinds of things. And rather than it just being a one-way conversation, it's a facilitated conversation where people learn, but we can break out and have discussions. We can have what would I say? We would have people being able to give insight within small groups, as well as directly with me as the facilitator. Now, again, a lot of workshops now are being done online, and we have things like Microsoft Teams, or we have Zoom, where people will go out into breakout rooms to be able to have that. But again, workshops is this practical learning about being able to up your skill or your personal development or your business development skill in such a way that you can practically apply afterwards. But it's a hell of a lot more interactive than, as I said, keynotes, seminars, and webinars that I mentioned before. Okay, so that takes me on to number 5. Number 5 is hosting. So I don't do it as much now, obviously, because of COVID. And to be honest with you, I've taken a step back. I think my wife is a better host than I am. But when we're talking about awards, when we're talking about conferences, when we're talking about symposiums and special events, there are going to be times, or even after dinner speaking, there are going to be times where somebody like myself has been asked to chair the whole thing. So we will introduce all the different segments. We will introduce the actual speakers. We will tell people exactly, where to go for, for the bathroom, for refreshments, if there's a fire exit, all that kind of stuff. But we effectively will chair and hold the whole vein of where that conference is. We'll understand the narrative, and we will tie it all together as a host. Again, as I said, I've taken a back seat from that, and my wife tends to do that a lot. She's better than me, and she tends to do that a lot more. And but it's still there, it's still viable. I still do every now and then a couple of awards and some conferences, but I don't do it as much. I tend not to do it as much now, and especially in these challenging times. And then the last one, and obviously there are more, but the last one that I do around speaking is around presenting. So obviously right now I am doing this vlog. I have my own podcast called Leadership Decoded, but I also do work for private clients where I will go and I will host a podcast, or I will host a set of interview series behind the scenes for an actual client. And that presenting requires me, again, to be really present, to understand the script, to have that real good energy to engage with guests, or to present whatever the subject matter is. And increasingly, I'm finding that people are coming to me to do more of this presenting internally. Maybe it's because of my voice and my cadence and my timbre in my voice. I've got no idea. But more and more, I seem to be doing that. Now, a number of years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, I released a Trello board, and I'm a Trello board with a breakdown of some of the stuff that I do as a speaker. I'm going to share that in the notes below. Please go and have a look at it and tell me if it really helps you. So really appreciate you tuning in again to listen to how the speaking empire, or the speaking part of the business. I think in the last episode I talked to you about executive coaching. In this one I really wanted to break it down, what I do as a speaker. And that's a general one. I will actually go into each and every single one of those that I mentioned in a bit more detail, so that individuals can understand how to become better speakers and how to become better professional speakers, so they get paid for it as well. But I hope you enjoyed that insight, and look forward to tuning in, or you tuning in, should I say, to the next episode. If you like this, please subscribe, please share, and I'll see you next time in room 2740.